Duke, Moby Duke Fitness here. Hope you're all having a great day, a good week to start off. This is my second time filming this, so I'm a little pissed off now, to be honest, because I was just filming this. I probably talked to the camera for like 15 minutes, and I got a call or something, and my phone just stopped recording. And I checked my photos, and I couldn't see anything. So hopefully this take will be better than the last time. And if you clicked on this video, as you can tell from the title that I'm going to put it as, it's me being 30 days sober without marijuana, weed, pot, grass, dank, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So, wow, man. It's been such a journey, and 30 days of no pot might not sound like much to someone who's not an active user, but I think people need to understand that anything that you do every day for such a long point in your life, it's not easy to quit. And this can be alcohol, it can be porn, it can be harder drugs, it can be anything, but it includes weed too. Weed is not just weed. It's not. Seriously, because there are physiological withdrawals, sweats, insomnia, lack of hunger, no motivation, depression, anxiety. There's so many things that can happen to your body and mind. And the people who say there's no addiction are the same people who are doing it every day, including some of my friends. And I can say that because I was the same person saying it wasn't addicting until I realized, yeah, it is addicting. Now, no, it's not cocaine, it's not heroin, it's not Oxycontin, it's not any other type of addicting drug. But when you consistently do something, even if it's a hallucinogenic, it can be addicting because it becomes habit, it becomes routine. And to give you guys a little bit of a background on my history with cannabis, I started smoking weed when I was 15, but I was never a consistent user because I was worried about getting caught by my parents, obviously, and I didn't have the money or the access, the resources to get pot whenever I wanted, like it is when you're an adult, right? Especially in today's time. Now, granted, it's a different story now. When my sister's in high school and her friends have dab pens, it's like insane because that would be alien to us when we were 15 or 16, when my high school peers were that age. E-cigarettes were just coming about, like the blue e-cigarettes and stuff. So nicotine was big back then, but not for weed. And it became more and more accessible today. So I'm glad I'm not in high school now. That among other reasons. So it started when I was 15. I got caught a couple times in high school, was grounded because I wasn't able to smoke weed or hang out with my friends because I was grounded. I was depressed, and I would literally steal alcohol from my parents' liquor cabinet and get drunk when they were out with friends. My parents were out with friends, or they were just doing something, which is kind of fucked up and sad, but I know a lot of people my age did the same thing probably, because even if they couldn't hang out with their friends, they would have their buddies over and they steal liquor from the liquor cabinet. It's just a common thing that high schoolers do. And then you pour water in it to water it down so it doesn't look like anything was taken, right? So these were things that a lot of people go through. They go through that phase. And once you get to college, it's completely different. So I didn't smoke a lot my senior year of high school. I remember my senior prom camp thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I was with my ex-girlfriend, and there was a bunch of people there, but I remember smoking, and I remember having like a bad paranoid high, and like I felt like I was kind of losing my mind, and I was having OCD, intrusive thoughts, and just shit like that. And that's when I was like, damn, I don't know if I like this. And so I didn't do it often my senior year of high school. It was more of my sophomore and my junior year of high school I was doing it, and I enjoyed it. There wasn't really a bad high, which makes sense because my OCD really started to kick off when I was 17. So I was a senior in high school, and this is at the point where I became sexually active, which kind of sparked these intrusive thoughts, which is weird, right? It's like, why would losing my virginity and being sexually active start creating more taboo, more scary thoughts in my own head. Now, I don't want this to be an OCD video. This is about pot, but just moral of the story being, there was definitely slight bad reactions I was having to it in high school by the time I was 17, 18. Well, then you get to college, and you're not worried about getting caught, right? You have the freedom. Maybe you're worried about getting caught by like your campus police or your RA, but you don't have your parents huffing down your neck anymore. And it's such a liberating feeling. Anyone who's gone to college, that freshman year, everyone thinks their freshman year is usually the best because it's when you do the most crazy, most fun shit because it's so euphoric and nostalgic. Oh my God, I have this freedom. I can do whatever I want. So I would smoke with buddies my freshman, sophomore year of college, but still wasn't very consistent. Maybe a couple weekdays here and there, but I didn't have the money to just become an everyday stoner like some of my peers started to become. I kind of stayed away from that lane. It was more of a social casual thing. But it became a very everyday thing by the time it was my summer after sophomore year of college. Now, at this point, I was starting to see a psychiatrist, had gone in and out of therapy a couple times, but it was too expensive at the time for my family to pay for it. And we didn't really understand what OCD was at the time. We were trying to figure it out, and even with the reassurance from my therapist, my mind was still going crazy. And weed didn't help that. I remember having a bad edible experience, and not that it was exclusively OCD things, but I just remember being paranoid, anxious, just feeling like I was losing control of myself. And I ended up puking that night. My legs were shaking. It was just a really bad edible experience. And people without anxiety issues can deal with something like that too. You don't have to have an anxiety disorder. So I stopped doing anything cannabis related for 2 months. And then I got back from Nantucket and I was working at Dunkin' Donuts. And I was depressed because I didn't have a full-time job and I wasn't distracted like I was the summer before. So to kill time, because I didn't have a bunch of friends around to hang out with from my hometown anymore, because, you know, people grow apart, or they were doing the thing I was trying to avoid, I guess. That's when I started smoking weed by myself and it became an everyday thing. So my junior year of college and my senior year of college, it was every single day. And I was living off campus, so I didn't move home at all. So I wasn't living with my parents whatsoever for the next 3 years. I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. So I would just get high every single day, nonstop, morning, lunchtime, afternoon, nighttime. There was not a dull moment where I wasn't either high or coming down from a high and then sparking up again. Sounds like an addiction, right? But people say weed's not addicting. Trust me, man, it is. When you make a habit of something, it is so addicting and toxic. And the people who say it's not addicting are the same people doing it every day. Like I said, I say that with love because I've been there and my friends are there. They're still kind of in that phase, which is fine. They may never stop. They might do it their entire lives. And I get it. Life's fucking hard. It's stressful. And when you're used to that constant dopamine influx, well, how would you want to get rid of it if it makes you feel good, right? And it doesn't give you anxiety. So I get it. So with that said, thank God I started finding fitness and basketball again my senior year of college. I had gained a lot of weight, and then I started to get back on track. So I was working out 4 days a week, you know, on and off. Some weeks was less, some weeks were more, but I was still getting high every day, before working out, after working out, nighttime, with friends, whatever. So it was still a part of my routine. I just had something kind of creating a buffer period between points of getting high. So it was progress, but it wasn't a lot of progress in terms of slowing down to a certain extent. So this kept going past college. So I had graduated college at this point. I was doing Uber and Lyft, and I was a recruiter at Northwestern Mutual. I was working at The Edge. This is all stuff prior to the pandemic. I did the pro tryouts. I was still smoking weed consistently. I was still getting high, whatever, right? And that even kept coming. That kept going when I moved back home. I live with my family now. It's not ideal because I'm 24 years old, but most people my age are doing it because one, because of the pandemic, and number two, living on your own is not easy. It's expensive, and unless you have a good full-time paying job, it's not easy. And I'm sure a lot of people my age are experiencing this. It's so hard to find a fucking job that you like, even if you have a degree and you had good grades, you were involved in school and all that. And I had all of that. But I knew I didn't want to work in an office, so I got into fitness. So after working at the Edge, I mentioned this in another video, pandemic happened, then I worked at Fearless Fitness, and now I'm at Tap Out Fitness. So that's all good. So when I moved back home, I was slowing down, which was good. Not initially at first, because I had all the time in the world still. So I was so bored, so I had to get high. I just had to. I didn't have a choice. Like, I felt like I didn't have a choice. Didn't matter if I was hanging out with my ex-girlfriend, didn't matter if I was hanging out with friends, like I always had to get high still. And then slowly but surely, as I started working again, it slowed down a little bit, but I was still doing it once or twice a day, mainly after work, which was good. I wasn't going into work high because I knew I didn't like how I felt when I was at work and I was high. I felt like paranoid. So I was making progress. And I tried to then decide, okay, I'm going to only do it socially. And this was by the time my ex-girlfriend broke up with me. So this is last fall. I was like, I'm only going to do it socially. Yeah, that lasted for like 4 days, a couple times. So I went on like these mini tea breaks, but I still couldn't break my fix or my urge to smoke because I would be bored and unfulfilled. And I'd rather be anxious and high than depressed and not high. So it was a constant pendulum of emotions and feelings. And what happened after that was Tap Out kept me busy. I was there full time once Fearless Fitness shut down. So now we're going into March of this year, 2021. I'm still doing it at least once a day. I had told my therapist about my endeavors to slow down, but it wasn't really working. I had slowed down compared to where I was in college, but I was still getting my fix once a night, usually at nighttime, a few hours before bed, or if I worked an early shift, I would then smoke right after, take a nap, and then if I had work later, I wouldn't get high till after that shift. But if I didn't have work later that day, after taking my nap, I would just smoke for the rest of the day. So you see what I'm saying? It was still a consistent thing in my routine. And then here comes Easter for 2021. So 30 days ago, basically, and I got high with some of my family, not my parents or like my aunts or uncles, but like cousins and my siblings, not my youngest sibling, but my brothers, who are all adults. And I had a bad high, and I wasn't close enough or comfortable enough to tell any of my family members, even though they're blood related, that like I was having a bad experience. And I mean, I was already tired, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to bed. And then I just remember lying in my bed, because we were in Cape Cod, so I was lying in my bed that I was sleeping in, and I was like, this has to stop. I can't keep doing this anymore. I feel like shit. I'm so anxious right now. I don't feel comfortable. How do I not feel comfortable around my own family? So there was an urge to smoke the next day, but I held off. And then it became 2 days, and then it became 3. I downloaded an app called Grounded, which has helped me slow down and quit. It gave me a bunch of advice. It helps me log when I'm tempted to smoke. And here I am now 30 days later, and I can say from the experience that I have had so much less anxiety. I have had more energy. I definitely have more motivation. I feel like I have a slight increase in my testosterone, which probably also has to do with energy levels. Not that it dramatically lowers your testosterone, but it can definitely slow it down a little bit, the production of it. But the main thing was to get rid of most of the anxiety. And so I've been doing it for 30 days. After a week or two in, I started getting mildly depressed. Not that I wasn't dealing with depression before stopping smoking, or I wasn't, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And then those feelings of my ex started coming up again because I was numbing myself. That was one of the things I was probably numbing myself with. So now I was facing all of these emotions raw without self-medicating. and I felt like I had to reach out to her. So I tried to reach out. I did a couple points of communication. She didn't want to talk to me. I understand. I kind of screwed up. Even though my emotions were justified because of certain things that happened, they weren't justified in reacting the way I did. And this is when I was smoking, and even the past couple of weeks. I didn't handle everything perfectly, but I feel like I've broken this glass ceiling. I've broken this threshold where I understand that I can live life without weed. It's hard. I have a feeling at some point I will do it again because I want to do it again because I do miss that feeling. I can't lie. But I'm holding off for as long as I can because I see the benefits and what it's provided me not doing it for 30 days. And it's crazy to think that for 3.5 years of my life, almost every day besides a couple small, short tea breaks, I was high all the time. So, to give you a recap, before these last 30 days, since I lived at home, which was now almost a year ago, which is hard to believe, I've almost lived in Granby for almost a year again, I was getting high every day, but it was usually at night or after I was done with work. And it wasn't nearly the amount I was doing when I lived off campus in New Britain, when I was exercising, when I was first starting my weight loss journey. And before that, it was when I was at my worst, just constantly getting high. So it's been a stepping stone process, no doubt. And now I'm cold turkey. Cold turkey has by far been the hardest part because even when you slow down, you're still getting that fix eventually. And if anything, it makes the high that more satisfying. But it was still routine. I still wanted to do it every day, whether socially or by myself. And I can say now that I'm proud of how far I've come along. 30 days without it is a big deal to me. And there are times, yes, I miss it. I miss the social aspect of it. I haven't seen my friends as much. Granted, that's also because I've been working crazy. But it also has to do with the fact that I'm not motivated to smoke. And that doesn't mean I'm going to cut off my friends just because that's what they like to do. Like, no, they're my friends, and they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want in their lives. I just hope that they can use me as an example and that it inspires them to take a tea break or to slow down or to quit entirely. Because the more people that you're surrounded by that do similar things to you, the better. Because they say you become the 5 people you spend the most time around. Well, then it makes sense why I was such a pothead, but now it makes sense why I don't spend as much time with them, because I'm trying to mold myself into a different person. That's not me talking down on my friends. I'm proud of all my friends and all of the things that they're doing. They just like to smoke their weed, just like I did. And ideally, how I would like to, but I know I can't because I'm trying to move past this phase of my life. That doesn't mean I'm never going to do it again. I'm sure there will be at some point. But I'm sure the high will be so much more satisfying. It's going to be so satisfying. I know I'm going to have to take the tiniest hit because otherwise I'm going to be too baked. Whenever that may be. So I want to see if I can go another month again, kind of like I did the summer or when I was 20 years old. I kind of want to see if I can go 2 months without it again. And then just take it day by day. But I never want to go back to doing it every day. Like, never again. Because I don't think it's healthy for me. It might be better for other people, but when you have an anxiety disorder like OCD, it's not the right thing to use as a supplement to your life. But good for people who don't have the negative experiences with weed. If they're chilling all the time, and they're mellow and they're not anxious and they're just balling out, living life, you know, soaking up the sun, playing their guitar, listening to some reggae music or whatever music they listen to. I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but you catch my drift where, you know, it does present this sexy vibe where it's like, smoke weed, relax, chill out, forget about your stresses, don't be anxious. That definitely works for some people, but for other people, it gives them the opposite effect. So, we'll see what happens. I hope this was an insightful video for you guys. I hope it inspires you, gives you another perspective on what it can be like on the other side when you quit smoking weed. And I hope it gives some people who don't smoke weed perspective on why it's so hard to quit, because it's not just weed. There is an addictive trait in people, and it can be physiologically addicting when you do it for such a long time. I would say once you do it every day for a few months, it's hard to cut it off entirely. So take that as you wish, and I wish you guys nothing but the best in your endeavors, whether it's fitness, your job, your career, your relationships, your life in general. And let's just keep improving together, because that's what this channel's about. It's not just about